There he is. There he is.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hey, by the way, Ken Coleman's got a big show coming up Thursday night. Everybody should tune into that. It's $10. It's awesome. He's gonna tell people how to get jobs, which I may need if I keep being late to Instagram Live events.
Yeah. Hey, that'll be perfect because we have a lot of callers who are kind of worried about their jobs, and King Coleman is awesome on that. So yeah.
Yes, dude. They're setting up this stage down there. It looks like a I don't know, man. How much stuff goes on behind the scenes here is incredible. It's awesome. Good, man.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
How are you two? Y'all doing well?
We're great.
Yeah.
We're doing
So
good.
good, man.
Pretty good.
Very cool.
What about you?
Same. It's bananas. Everybody's running around and busy and having fun, so it's good. We're blessed to be working, and so it's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. I know that Tennessee is fully open, which is so crazy because our governor here in Washington is like, okay, everybody, if you go outside, you have to wear a mask. And we're just like, oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
No end in sight in Washington.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Weird.
But we're like, all right.
What
we'll,
ups?
we'll wear a mask.
I haven't checked recently, but last I saw, there was no new cases, and we've been fully open for a couple of weeks, but there's been nothing. It's just, I don't know, man. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know enough to know anything anymore.
Well, that's good to know because we're going to be there in 2 weeks, and I ain't about to get the Rona when I come to Tennessee. So
No.
The Rona.
I've got some off Instagram Live jokes about it that we can do in person. That'd be good.
Love it.
Can't wait. So we had talked earlier, and thank you again for doing this live thing. We super appreciate it, and I think
I love it, man.
Yeah. So we had talked earlier, so we have some questions, and we thought it would be really fun to be like, all right, John, I've barely even read these questions, which kind of keeps it fresh. I like to do that. So it's like these people are calling in, but not really. We're reading it, and these are real questions. So let's give them some knowledge or some wisdom or some kind of helpful advice.
And if you're watching live on Instagram, pop your questions into the comments, and we'll answer them real time too. That's always what
This is the most, like, I'm watching. Man, this is the most people who's ever joined us on Instagram Live, so it's good to see everybody. It's awesome. If y'all have questions, we're just talking. This is Seth and Melanie Studley. They are the Anatomy of Marriage. They are way better at this than I am, and they're both brilliant and experts and talking about how to stay married and how to love your partner that you're with and all the things. And so if you've got marriage questions or relationship questions, relationships with who you see in the mirror, because sometimes we don't like that dude either. What's up, Lance Howard? Sometimes relationships are everything. And so if you've got questions as we're answering some of these, feel free to pop in and we'll answer you down here. So what's the first one you got, Seth?
Okay, go for
or
it.
Melanie,
The very
either one.
first question has no backstory at all, and it is just this. What are your thoughts on having to sign a prenuptial agreement? Coming in strong.
Dude, coming in hot, man.
That's right.
So I have like a real visceral reaction to this question that may be less. I'm going to say it's partly from my being the dean of students of a law school for 5 years and seeing how the legal machine works behind closed doors, and going through the counseling program as well. So I've got a pretty visceral reaction. So as a good counselor, I'm going to turn and punt to you guys and say, what do you guys think?
Okay. I also have a visceral reaction, and I even thought this before I got into the licensed marriage and family therapist world years ago, and I was like, something about that just rubs me the wrong way. I wouldn't want to make such a big decision as getting married to someone, and of course, I grew up fairly traditional. It's like, I only want to get married once, right? That's all. That's all I want to do. So I don't. If you wanted a prenup or something like that, I'd be like, well, wait a minute, let me think about this whole relationship, because that's going to be something that we obviously think really differently on. And, I guess, so here's the therapist piece in part coming out. If both parties agreed to a prenup, then okay, that works for them. But if one did and one didn't, then I would also, as a therapist, dive into those issues, So you disagree on this. Let's explore other areas that you might disagree upon. And I understand the legal piece. If somebody has a huge estate or something, they don't want to get married to some gold digger or whatever, and then boom, just lose it all. But to me, as a therapist and as a person, something rubs me the wrong way about that. That makes me think of other questions. You know?
Yeah.
You feel that one too?
My impulse, and Lance Howard here, I feel similarly, which is, I think a prenup is valuable if you're on your second marriage and you've got kids, and then you are trying to protect your kids from connecting to a new set of kids. And so you're inviting other family dynamics that your kids didn't ask for, don't know anything about. And so I think a prenup is great in that space. When it comes to two people just deciding they're going to get married, it feels like you're already walking into a situation where you got one foot out the door.
Right.
And my experience with couples and in my own marriage is, you can't have that as an option or you'll use it, right? A great example, when I was 20, I was meeting with acting agents in LA because I wanted to be a movie star. I thought I was going to be all famous. Clearly, that didn't work out.
I heard a podcast that you were on. I don't remember the guy's name, but I was like, what? Deloney moved to LA and he did this stuff?
It was a whole thing, man. It was a whole thing. But I needed to finish my degree, and I'll never forget, I was like one semester short or something, and the manager I was meeting with said, don't finish. And I was like, well, that sounds stupid. And he said something that stuck with me that I've used for marriages, which was, if you have a backup plan, you'll use it. And the only way you make it in something as cutthroat as Hollywood is if you have to act to eat. Then you will work really hard at your craft, and you will do the jobs that nobody wants to do, and you will stay late and learn and all that, because that's how you're going to eat. And so I think the same way is with marriages. If I've got an exit strategy drawn up already for us, at some point things are going to get hard. A bunch of points are going to get hard, and you may end up using them. So that's my take on them.
Yeah. When I hear this, one of the things that comes up to me right away is, what in your family of origin is triggering you to think you should sign a prenuptial agreement? Like, what is it? Are your parents divorced? Did you walk through that as a child? Like, that kind of thing is I guess not so much as a, like, here's what you should or shouldn't do, but here's what might be helpful to think about. Is this coming from an experience you walked through, and do you want that again, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I see like good and bad for signing prenups, like if it's a second marriage, all that stuff. So I love that Lance wrote about that and said, you know, I see it's possible for those who are getting married for a second time. And I just love that. So awesome. Great answers. So number 2.
So somebody in the comments asked about in-laws, and that's awesome because we actually have a question that really dives deep into in-law stuff. So it's a little bit long, so you guys hang tight, okay? So it says, help, my mother-in-law has no boundaries. I've been listening to your podcast since I got married in 2017.
Well, I'll skip that. I wanted to ask you guys about in-laws. My husband and I have been dealing with the same issue since we got married with his mother. She is very passive aggressive, and it has been hard to distance ourselves, especially since my husband doesn't want to get involved in any conflict with her as it becomes a bigger issue. He won't discuss what to do about how she treats me or our family, which just starts to weigh on me. My question is, how do I, as the wife, communicate to my husband the stress and strain she puts on our relationship in a loving way instead of lashing out? And also, how do you communicate to a controlling and manipulative mother-in-law?
That question goes like, we're just kind of getting on the on-ramp, and dude, by the time that question's over, she's like 120 down the highway. I love it.
Right.
Like, hey, so I'm kind of just thinking, go son of, like this. She's in it, man. Can I go first on this one?
Yep.
Yes.
So, number 1, dude, I cannot stand passive aggressive, and I don't even like talking like what I'm about to say. I don't like gendered language. I don't like overdo, like, you should be the man. I hate that kind of crap. I cannot stand dudes that won't be that won't let their wife be the chief mother in their world. It drives me crazy. When you get married to somebody else, they're the only vote that matters anymore, period. And I can't stand it when, like, well, you know, mom thinks, dude, mom doesn't get a vote anymore. Now, and what I mean by that when I say that is, you still love your mom, you still honor your parents, they get to move in if she's, you know, needs help, you talk about how you're going to support it, but mom doesn't get a vote that supersedes your partner's vote. Period. End of story. Discussion's over. And the cowardice, and usually in my experience, it's been sons with their moms. I've never met, or rarely met, daughters who don't love talking back to their dads once they get that power. But moms, there's my mom, thumbs up in that thing. That is what I'm talking about. not my mom shows up on this thing. But my wife gets the vote. And here's the thing. Once you take your in-laws out of the question, then you get to love your own parents and your in-laws in a deeper and more powerful way, because you're not coming at them like with this, like, I don't know, what do they think about what we're going to have for dinner? You just get to love them, man. And then they give you their advice and you say, thank you. You've got wisdom. You've got life experience. I'm going to take that, but I'm going to filter that through this interaction that I'm having with the person I've decided I'm going to make my life with. Does that make sense? Those are the two things that drive me crazy.
Yeah. One of the things that stands out to me is when we first were dating, actually, when Seth proposed to me. We only dated for 5 months, and he proposed, and his mother called me on the phone, and she let me have it. She was not happy. She did not appreciate me. At the time, I had like a super short pixie haircut, covered in tattoos, and her little southern son has moved 3,000 miles away to be with this crazy freako weirdo from Seattle. And she was so hard, like she was so upsetting and mean and unkind. But I had this moment of, I promised it was divine intervention. And I emailed her and I said, if you can love him as a son, I will love him as a wife. And we can get along and this can all work out. But it took me seeing or having that, I mean, it wasn't me, it was not me, but having this sort of awareness and the openness to say, you know what, there is a whole life and relationship that Seth and his mother have had that it feels like I'm encroaching upon from her perspective. I need to honor that, but at the same exact time, her son chose me, and she needs to honor that. I will say, though, I have never confronted her and been like, you have to change, you blah, blah, blah. That would be the end of my marriage and our everything, right? So I want to say that it's important to not take that dynamic of, I'm going to fix this and whatever. What do you say?
I agree with you, John, completely. Like, when I in counseling and see dudes, you know, just deferring everything to wife, I'm like, that is your responsibility to either, to provide, preside, and protect, like this other podcaster guy says. And if you're like saying, oh, you talk to my mom, the husband, that kind of burns me up too, because they're not doing their job, right? So and there's this other saying I use sometimes, blood talks to blood. You know, I don't know, maybe that's a Southern saying or something like so. If my mom,
I love it, dude. It's good.
If my mom has an issue with our marriage or something, then it's my duty to work it out, to be the man to talk about it, you know. And same thing, if Melanie's mom or whoever's coming at me sideways, then I'm gonna, of course, shield her if they're doing crazy stuff. But I think that the blood that talks to blood is going to have a better time at it instead of the outsider coming in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Totally.
Like, oh, you defer your responsibilities or anything like that. In this issue, I would want to see the husband step up. Completely step up.
Also, both of you, that's awesome, dude. I like the blood with blood, and anytime I can like make a Western out of my daily life, I love that. Here's two other things I think it's important for us to remember. One is, if I can understand that if my in-laws are coming at me hot, that they're doing it for one reason, and that's because they love their daughter. Or if my mom got frustrated with, or my dad got frustrated with Sheila, that would be rooted in, I'm trying to love my son. And I always want to remember that rarely are people coming at you sideways just to be mean or ugly, right? And so I can always, like Melanie, that was perfect. Mom's coming at you because she wants to make sure that woman loves her like she did.
Yeah.
And her picture of Thanksgiving 20 years from now is now going to look different because he's marrying some wackadoo with tattoos, right? And so honoring that somebody's picture is going to look different, and that we're going to all recraft and repaint this picture together. The second thing is this. If there are in-laws on this, I